Hello everybody and welcome back to Let's Go Mental. My name is Warieme Karinge. I am the founder and CEO at Let's Go Mental Kenya. I am also a creative. I love working with my hands, and out of that I started a business where we convert plastic containers into very beautiful flower pots. As you can see, these are our succulent baskets. And then our other product is the bigger planters, which you can put in your sitting room or you can put on your balcony, wherever it is, in your office, wherever you feel like. So go check us out on our social media, on any of our social media platforms, and have a look at the beautiful products that we have. That said, welcome to today's episode. We are actually going to be discussing trauma. Getting to understand what exactly is trauma, getting to understand that God did not design trauma for you, getting to understand some things that can be overlooked as being trauma, getting to understand some patterns that could be associated with trauma, and what we can do to start healing ourselves from this trauma that was caused to us, and it's not our fault. I know it feels like we have just gone deep into a deep topic, like head first, but I felt it's important for us to have this conversation as well because it's the beginning of the year. This is the time we are planning our finances, our career, our investments. But in all that, especially those ones who have finished doing their plan for the year, have you included mental health anywhere? Be honest. So this conversation will actually lead us to getting to identify, are there areas in my life that I need to work on? Are there areas that need that inner work? I need to grow, I need to heal from wounds. And how is the best way to be able to do this? It's by understanding what exactly trauma is. And trauma is often misunderstood. People think that trauma is this big, extreme thing that happens to someone, but trauma can be anything that Trauma is anything that overwhelms someone's system, and during that event, this person either did not have the safety, they did not have the support, or they did not have the tools to be able to cope with that traumatic experience. Either it was maybe a one-off, or maybe it was a continuous thing, you just didn't have the tools. And this trauma left an imprint in you. And after leaving this imprint in you, it causes your nervous system starts developing patterns that help you manage that experience that you went through. And some of these patterns that we form can be very toxic patterns. They can be things that interrupt with our relationships, and this is a lot when it comes to trauma. As we continue to understand trauma, it is important to know that trauma is not God's design for your life. God did not create you and I to be shaped by fear, to be shaped by survival, or to be shaped by pain. Trauma exists because unfortunately we live in a broken world, but it's not because God intended suffering to define who we are. Trauma is not a character flaw, please remember that, and it's also not a spiritual failure. It is just that your system is trying to do its best to survive something that happened to it either too much, too fast, or too long. Another way that people really misunderstand trauma is that they think trauma only comes from abuse, from maybe physical abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse, an accident. But trauma can come from different areas. For example, it can come from probably constantly being compared in your family. Maybe as you were growing up, you were the bigger one, or you were the smaller one, or you were the lighter one. So what will happen is you're consistently hearing these comments about yourself, and with time, this forms some form of maybe shame in you, some low self-esteem, all those things. And then what happens as a result of that, now you start becoming either a people pleaser, or you're someone who always shrinking yourself so that you can be accepted. You just don't feel worthy of the person that you are. Trauma can also come from growing up where love was conditional or approval, and it had to be earned. So meaning your worth was tied to performance. Now what happens as you grow up as an adult, either you find yourself maybe becoming an overperformer, maybe you fear, you're always either putting a mask because you do not want to be rejected. For you in your mind knows that for good to come out of this, for me to be recognized, I need to behave in a certain way so that people can see me. Another place is that maybe trauma can come from sometimes maybe a home where conflict was handled through silent treatment. So for you, your nervous system now, because of that hot and cold, you fear you fear, how can I put it? You fear making your mom get to a point maybe where she's going to give silent treatment, or you feel scared of speaking up because you know you're not going to be talked to. So what happens with time as an adult, you start developing, you're afraid of speaking up because you don't want to, cause that imbalance, you don't want to bring any friction, you don't want to bring any silent treatment, so you become fearful of speaking up about your needs. Let's look at another example. Maybe your mom is soft-spoken and she's very quiet, and growing up, you witnessed her being bullied maybe by her siblings, being bullied by neighbors, being just being thrown around and taken advantage of. And after you witness this, you unconsciously decide that for people not to take advantage of me, I need to be loud, I need to be unspoken, I need to be combative. So your nervous system has now developed these survival tactics of being combative just to be able to survive what you saw in the past and how you believe that it's the best way to survive moving forward. And what this happens to you is that you'll find that during in relationships, you're probably not able to manage conflict well, you're probably always arguing with people and things like that. So that is also something else that you need to look inside yourself. We can look at one last example. Maybe you were the firstborn in your family and you had to take care of the kids, you're the one who used to run the home, you're the one basically who used to do everything. And due to this, now you have become such a hyper-independent person where it becomes so difficult for you to receive help, to ask for help, you feel guilty resting. So what happens? You end up burning out in life. You end up living your life like, me, I'm the one who people come to. They cannot see weakness, and that is really not a positive way to live this life, because we all need help, we all need each other, we all need support. What I've come to learn is that trauma attacks your identity first. Trauma is not just about the hurt or the incident or whatever happens. It is the effect. It is the lies that trauma tries to tell you. It tells you you're unworthy. It tells you you're not deserving. It tells you you're not beautiful. It tells you you're too much. It tells you you're broken beyond repair. It's just trauma keeps whispering these lies in us. And what happens now, over time, we start introducing ourselves to the world through these wounds. We start living our lives through these wounds. And this is not how God created us to be. We are supposed to step out into the world whole, just as God created us beautifully and wonderfully. Why does the enemy target trauma? Because if you think about it, our identities as adults, there's a big part of them that is shaped through traumatic events. So why does the enemy target trauma? This is because he wants you to live your life, or he wants your identity to be formed out of your brokenness. Trauma distorts your identity. It distorts how you see yourself, how you relate to others, how you pursue purpose. And when you believe the lies that you have been fed through this trauma, you live a life of hesitation, of fear, of self-doubt, or consistently feeling rejected, of conflict avoidance, all those negative things. Your relationships suffer, for example, because you can't fully trust. your dreams stall because of fear, because of self-doubt, or maybe you're living your dream but you're not fully living in that dream. You live in a lot of anxiety because your peace has been taken away because of your trauma. So trauma becomes the lenses through which you live every area of your life. And that is exactly how the enemy wants to keep you stuck. Now that we've been able to define what trauma is and being able to identify why the enemy uses trauma to attack us, it is now time to take the next step to healing. And before we get into the healing, I would like to mention that healing is not about pretending what happened to you. Not at all. It is not saying what happened to you didn't happen. It's not about minimizing it. That is not the case. But healing is about releasing trauma's grip on your identity and letting God rewrite your story. God does not want you just to skim through life and just survive this life just day to day. God wants you to live whole. And healing is about uncovering those lies that trauma has taught you and reclaiming parts of yourself that you lost. Your confidence, your sense of worth, your voice, your, living in your full purpose. Healing will reconnect you back to the original design God designed for you. It's about living a life of peace, a life of connection, a life of purpose, a life of freedom. Because trauma tried to shape who we are, but God is now inviting us to align with Him. He's asking us to reach out to Him and ask Him, who am I? What is my original design? What did you intend for me? We need to now start bringing God into these conversations. Show me these wounds. Some of these wounds, we are not aware of them even. Maybe you know that, okay, fine, yes, I have a bad temper. Maybe you know that I have a poor relationship with money, and that is because maybe you grew up with no money. Now you're a hoarder. Maybe there are all these things. But what is God's? But there are before I get there, there are other things about ourselves that we only get to realize once we are starting God to open up our eyes, open up our hearts and our ears to be able to hear from Him on what it is inside us that needs healing and what patterns in us or what characters, in quotes, we have formed today that are not of Him. So let us reach out to God for that healing. Ask Him, which direction do you want me to take in my healing? Is it therapy? And therapy is one of the most effective ways of dealing with trauma, with childhood trauma, because you get to understand yourself, understand where you are, start developing positive coping strategies. So is it therapy? Is it that just how are you going to heal? Is it journaling? Is it reading God's word? How does He want you to heal? So let us reach out to God and ask Him to show us these wounds, the ones we know, the ones we don't know, the patterns we are aware, the patterns that we are not aware of, so that we can start releasing trauma's grip on our lives.